In the vast Roman Empire, there existed an emperor whose figure was surrounded by mystery, controversy, and horror. His name was Caligula. However, this name was merely a nickname given by Roman soldiers due to the small military boots he wore as a child. Throughout his short life, his story was marked by an unexpected rise to power, madness, and brutality. In 37 AD, Caligula ascended to the throne following the death of Tiberius. His rise to power was initially met with great hope. The Roman people saw him as a fresh figure and a potential liberation from Tiberius's tyranny. During the first 6 months of his reign, Caligula presented himself as a fair and popular leader, full of promises. However, this facade did not last long. After a severe illness struck him shortly after taking the throne, Caligula's personality drastically changed. His former friends and allies began to notice a shift in his demeanor. He became more cruel, erratic, and paranoid. Caligula began to exhibit increasingly autocratic behavior. One of his first decisions as emperor was to execute several senators whom he suspected of disloyalty, as well as exiling those who had betrayed him. Over the months, manifestations of his delusions of grandeur became more evident. He proclaimed himself a living god, demanding to be worshipped as a deity. He ordered statues of himself to be erected in Roman temples and demanded that citizens offer sacrifices in his honor. The pinnacle of his megalomania came when, according to some sources, he appointed his horse, Incitatus, as consul, the highest office in the Roman government. While some historians believe this was a cruel joke, others argue that he genuinely intended to demonstrate his absolute power. During his rule, Caligula also indulged in a life of excess and debauchery, allowing luxury and decadence to define his reign. His fondness for opulent parties and extravagant spending plunged Rome into a severe economic crisis. Meanwhile, the emperor continued to humiliate and disdain senators, stripping them of power and manipulating the system to strengthen his own control. Violence was commonplace under his reign. Caligula is known to have ordered executions merely for amusement or to assert his authority. His cruelty knew no bounds, and accusations of sexual abuse and torture became frequent. As his rule became increasingly unpredictable, his enemies began to unite. Conspirators in the Senate viewed Caligula as a man out of control and started plotting his downfall. In 41 AD, Caligula was assassinated by members of the Praetorian Guard, the elite military unit tasked with protecting the emperor. It was said that even his own family was involved in the conspiracy. After his death, the Roman people felt relieved. Rome could finally breathe after 3 years of terror. Caligula went down in history as the epitome of absolute tyranny and abuse of power. Caligula's personal life was also marked by tumult. He was known for his extravagant spending on public games and spectacles, often depleting the treasury. His public entertainments were both a means to gain popularity and a demonstration of his immense wealth and power. Gladiator games, chariot races, and theatrical performances were frequent, keeping the Roman populace in a state of perpetual awe and fear. Caligula's relationships were also the subject of much speculation and scandal. His numerous marriages and affairs, often with members of his own family, painted a picture of a ruler who was both intensely private and scandalously public. His infamous relationship with his sister Drusilla, whom he deified after her death, sparked rumors of incest and further fueled perceptions of his madness. Despite his tyrannical rule, Caligula was known for several ambitious architectural projects. He initiated the construction of aqueducts, expanded the Roman road network, and even attempted to build a bridge across the Bay of Baiae, showcasing his grand vision for Rome's infrastructure. However, these projects were often overshadowed by his capricious nature and the economic strain they placed on the empire. The final years of Caligula's reign were marked by growing paranoia and a series of purges that targeted both real and perceived threats to his power. His erratic behavior alienated even his closest allies, leading to a growing sense of unease within the Praetorian Guard and the Senate. The conspiracy that ultimately led to his assassination was the culmination of widespread fear and hatred he had cultivated among Rome's elite. The death of Caligula did not immediately bring stability to Rome. The transition of power to his uncle Claudius was fraught with uncertainty, as the new emperor faced the overwhelming task of restoring order and legitimacy to the Roman government. Nonetheless, Caligula's reign remains a powerful reminder of the inherent dangers of absolute power. serving as a warning for future generations. In modern times, Caligula's legacy has been the subject of various interpretations in literature, film, and art. His story has been dramatized in numerous works of historical fiction, often highlighting the blend of historical facts and sensational myths surrounding his life. While some portrayals emphasize his cruelty and madness, others explore the complexities of his character and the turbulent era in which he ruled. As historians continue to debate the accuracy of the sources documenting Caligula's reign, his image as a mad tyrant endures. The fascination with his life and rule reflects a broader, human interest in the extremes of power and the psychological effects of absolute authority. Whether viewed as a victim of historical bias or a genuine despot, Caligula remains one of history's most enigmatic figures. Beyond the previously mentioned events, Caligula also displayed a notable disregard for Roman traditions and customs. He openly defied the Senate and the nobility, stripping prominent families of their titles and properties, and surrounding himself with a circle of favorites and courtiers who guaranteed him unconditional loyalty. His obsession with being worshipped as a god led him to perform increasingly extravagant and absurd acts. He ordered the construction of temples dedicated to his divinity and appeared in public dressed in the attire of deities, demanding that citizens worship him. These actions not only alienated the ruling class, but also began to erode the people's faith in his leadership. Corruption and waste under his rule exacerbated economic tensions. To fund his extravagances, Caligula implemented oppressive taxes and arbitrary confiscations of property, leading to widespread discontent among merchants and ordinary citizens. Public administration became chaotic and disorganized, while nepotism and corruption proliferated at every level of government. Caligula's influence on foreign policy was also erratic. His military campaigns, though initially successful, became increasingly capricious and costly. He embarked on expeditions without clear purpose, depleting Rome's military and financial resources. His inclination for absurd military maneuvers, such as ordering his troops to collect seashells instead of engaging in battle, became a symbol of his madness and wastefulness. Caligula also faced rebellions and internal conflicts. In various provinces of the empire, governors and legions began to question his authority and resist his orders. These rebellions were brutally suppressed, but they contributed to the growing perception of instability and weakness in his rule. The legacy of Caligula has been the subject of intense academic debate. Some contemporary historians argue that accounts of his cruelty and madness were exaggerated by his political enemies and later Christian chroniclers, who had motives to tarnish his memory. However, archaeological and documentary evidence suggests that, while some anecdotes may have been embellished, his reign was indeed marked by despotic and unrestrained behavior. Caligula's figure continues to captivate humanity, not only because of his tyrannical acts, but also due to the reflection it offers on the dangers of absolute power and human nature. His name evokes images of madness, oppression, and decadence, and his story serves as an enduring warning about the risks of concentrating too much power in the hands of one individual. In conclusion, Caligula, the emperor who believed himself to be a god, left an indelible mark on history. His reign, characterized by madness, extravagance, and brutality, reflects the darker sides of human ambition and authority. Despite the attempts of his successors to erase his memory and restore stability to Rome, the legacy of Caligula lives on as a testament to the extremes of tyranny and the fragility of empires.